if you didn't already notice, this is actually part 2 of how to crochet this long sleeve top. If you're interested in watching part 1, I will link that in the description box below, and then you can come back to this one. Alrighty, let's get started. Okay, so in part 1 we left off with 4 pieces, 2 sleeves and 2 body pieces. Right now this is the sleeve, and what I'm going to show you is how to connect this piece so that it actually looks like a sleeve and not just a giant rectangle. So what you're going to do is fold the ends together and then grab your hook and put it through the last loop that you have. And then you're going to slip stitch all along the side of the sleeve, making sure that your gap in between the slip stitches is not too wide, because if it is, then your sleeve is actually going to crunch up. So make sure that every stitch that you go into is relatively close to one another. And once you have finally reached the end, then you can detach your yarn from the yarn ball and seal it whichever way you like sealing it. I like sealing it by putting the rest of the yarn through the last loop and then giving it a tug. So after you have slip stitched your way across the entire sleeve and then ended it off, then you should have something that looks like this. You could put your arm through and it fits nicely, not too tight, because if it's too tight it's going to be uncomfortable, and it's also going to stretch out and it's not going to look as nice as if it were loose. So make sure that your sleeve fits you well before you move on. If it is too tight for you, you can undo the slip stitch and then add a couple more rows and then try it again. And if it's still too small, then you just undo the slip stitch and then make a couple more rows, and you just keep doing that until you feel comfortable with the size of the sleeve. And after you're done with the first sleeve, you of course grab your second sleeve and do the exact same thing. Just line up the corners and then slip stitch your way across, and then you will be done with the sleeves. Now moving on to the body pieces. We're going to essentially attach them the same way, however we're only going to attach them in a specific area, only from this portion of the top to the bottom. Essentially, we're going to only attach the bottom half of the top. However, since mine is a crop top, it makes sense to only attach half of it, but if yours is a different size, then you're going to have to align your sleeves to the top of the top and to where the sleeve ends. At that end point, then that's where you start attaching your top. Hopefully it is more understandable once I show you where I attached it. I started my slip stitch at the bottom of my top, and then I worked my way up, making sure that I have enough room to attach my sleeves. So at the very top you can see that the width of what I left open is the same width of my sleeves. So make sure that you have enough room for your arms, otherwise this top is going to be very uncomfortable. So after you have attached the sides of your top, leaving room for your sleeves, you're going to attach the 2 areas at the very top of your top, leaving the collar portion untouched. So you're only going to slip stitch on the 2 extra little rectangles at the very top. Now what we're going to do is attach the sleeves the very same way. We're going to slip stitch all along the sleeve and make sure that it is attached correctly. Make sure that everything is still inside out, and when you do attach them, make sure that everything is aligned correctly. Also, what I like to do is make sure that the area where we attach the sleeve portion with the slip stitch is nice and hidden away by aligning that with where we attached the body portion. Essentially, make sure that where we attached the sleeve portion with the slip stitch is at the bottom. So after you have aligned everything well, then we are going to attach the sleeve and the body portion together using again the slip stitch, making sure that you don't accidentally attach the wrong side of the sleeve to the other side of the body part. It's really hard to explain, but once you're actually doing it, you will understand that you need to make sure that the sleeve is actually open, because if it's together, you might accidentally close the sleeve and then you might have to undo it and then try it again. But again, it's pretty hard to explain this process, and hopefully you seeing it will help you, but if not, I believe that actually doing it will make more sense. So far I've attached one side of the sleeve and now I'm going to attach the other. Basically doing the exact same thing. I just went around in a circle making sure that I grab the sleeve portion and I grab the body portion, and then I slip stitch my way through both of them so they're nice and attached. I also make sure that the hole that I leave is big enough to fit my arm comfortably. If you try it on and it's too tight, then you may need to unravel and start again. But since you have already measured your sleeve to fit your arm and also measured your armhole to fit your arm, you should be fine. But I'm just saying, just in case it does feel too tight, then unravel and make sure that when you're attaching the sleeve and the body portion together, that your stitches are relatively close to each other, because if you leave a lot of space in between the stitches, it tends to tighten up the area. So make sure that everything is nice and loose and cozy. So after you have attached everything, it should look something like this. The very last thing that you would do is make a couple rows of single crochet along the neckline to make a collar. However, when I tried my top on, I decided not to do this because I liked it without a collar. It was kind of loose fitting and that's what I liked. However, if you do want a collar, just go ahead and make a couple rows of single crochet going around in a circle around the neckline. And after you are completely satisfied with how everything fits, then you're going to turn the project right side in and notice that everything is much cleaner. None of the stitches really show. And again, you can make a collar if you wish. And after that, you are done. Now you can go ahead and rock your handmade crochet long sleeve top. I hope you enjoyed this video. Just know that it is super hard to make tutorials on crochet tops such as these, especially when I am a self-taught crocheter, but I try my best. If you do like free crochet tutorials, then be sure to subscribe to my channel. Once this video and my part 1 video reach 1,000 likes, then I will post a new crochet top tutorial. So until then, be sure to click that red subscribe button if you have not already, so I can see you next time. Bye!